I think a point that you guys are hitting on is that communication norms are really off,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're a part of the day-to-day management of large courses that we're just like in the wild, wild west. And students are emailing you at the drop of a hat, and they're so worked up.
Yeah.
And it's just really different. This was my second time teaching this big course at McGill, but I taught it a few times before at another institution. You might get this worked up student once or twice a semester after class or in office hours. But
Yeah.
now the norms are not established, that it's not really okay to email your professor really worked up to argue.
Yeah.
And I think that a big part of getting the day-to-day under control in these courses is establishing those norms and then really sticking to them.
Oh, I
And this
like
is a
that.
learning process for both parties. But I told my big class, which I think it worked pretty effectively, that there's too many of you and that there's a distribution of labor with communication. And I do all mass communications. So if you get an email about something, it'll be from me. And the TAs do micro communications. And every TA is assigned to, I put students into discussion board groups. And I said, your first line is the discussion board. Your second line is office hours. Your third line is email your TA. And because the TAs have a subset of students, it's a little more manageable. I will not answer any micro communications unless they're forwarded from the TA. And the TAs have a lot of power to make decisions. I said distribution of labor, distribution of power. I trust the TAs to make these decisions. And I deal with Office of Disability Services and some of those other things where communications come directly to the instructor. And if you really can't respond to the micro communications, if you want to have that policy, so that emotional reaction you get to respond, archiving those helps, I think. Archive. You can look at it. Sometimes a student would make a really good point. They clearly hadn't read the syllabus and the communication policy, so they emailed me instead of their TA. But I would message the TA on Teams and say, hey, is this issue getting worked out? Or what's our strategy for this? And we would move on it, kind of back channel, but I wouldn't respond. And I thought that this would be something that was cold or that students felt really unsupported. But in my evaluations, they were really positive. They were like, we felt like everybody cared. I loved being in a group, a discussion group with other students in my TA, because I felt like, and students will answer each other's questions and they got participation credit for that. And so I think that like, it was still hard. I still got stressful emails and I still stressed out, but I think that establishing like a clear communication policy, whether it's the one that I just described or something different, it sets your expectations for how you're going to handle that.